Alright, we're still making our way through the 60 albums of the RCA Albums Collection box set, and we're on number 25, which is the soundtrack to the film Frankie and Johnny, which is set in the 1920s on a riverboat down in like New Orleans, in that area, the very deep south, kind of in the bayou. This one also has an insert, like Harem Scarum did. This one I've actually never seen before. It's a painting that an artist did. June Kelly is the name of the artist that painted this, that you would have gotten in the album if you had bought it in 1965. This was one of the another one of the earliest albums of Elvis's that I had on vinyl, and it was also one of the earlier films that I saw. It wasn't probably within the first like 4 or 5, but it was shortly after. I mean, it was when I was becoming an Elvis fan. They would have like marathons on Turner Classic Movies around Elvis Week, and I would VHS tape many of those movies, and Frankie and Johnny was one of those. And one thing that I can say about this is that, much like Harem Scarum, it's actually a cohesive work. They all sort of fit that big band sort of sound, that showboat kind of almost. What would you call that? I'm not sure, but with songs, I mean the song Frankie and Johnny is a traditional song, goes back many years. Even in the 60s, it was an old song, and the way that they tied that into the plot was actually sort of interesting. There are a few of the songs on here that people pick on, in particular, like Petunia the Gardener's Daughter. It's not that bad of a song. I've never gotten why people pick on that, except for the general, like, you know, you get people who are you know, Elvis should have been doing rock and roll. Elvis should have been doing rock and roll. Well, here's the thing. This is a movie. This is like Hello Dolly. This is like West Side Story. This is like Oklahoma. It's a time and a place in a fictional film. And this is not a rock and roll album. It's just not. There's a couple songs that carry over from Elvis's influences with gospel. There's a medley of Down by the Riverside and When the Saints Go Marching In. But it's not done in the style that you would hear on one of his gospel albums. It's done with a full band, with a full big band with horns and everything. People need to remember that when they think about these movies, is that they're not rock and roll albums. They're not supposed to represent Elvis doing the sort of work that expressed necessarily who he was as an artist or what was challenging him. This was to tell a story and to supplant or to support a feature film. I do actually like this album. There are a few songs where you can tell that Elvis isn't as interested in them, particularly some of the ballads that are sort of interchangeable, like Please Don't Stop Loving Me. You can kind of swap that out with any of those love ballads. But Look Out Broadway, Come Along, Beginner's Luck. Those are all songs that work really well within the context of the movie and within the theme. The thing about this album that is actually the most frustrating is not anything to do with the content or this specific release. It was re-released in the 70s by on the Pickwick sublabel, I guess you would call, of RCA. And they botched it horribly. by using a cover photo of Elvis in a jumpsuit on stage. Didn't change the track list at all around, didn't add any tracks. It's literally just the soundtrack to Frankie and Johnny, but they were pretending like it was a live album. And it's so bizarre. But that's unrelated to this in so much as an album review is concerned, but it's something I do want to talk about when I get around to reviewing this movie and actually going in depth. But yeah, as far as this album is concerned, I actually quite like it. Because it does fit within the theme of the movie. And as a movie soundtrack to a feature film with a specific theme, I like it. It works. So that's Frankie and Johnny.